At the heart of the university, there were three names that echoed through the corridors: Kevin, Stephen, and Dave. They moved with a confidence that bordered on arrogance, their laughter loud and often at the expense of others. They were the kings of the campus, their wealth and privilege granting them a freedom others could only dream of. Kevin, with his golden hair and piercing blue eyes, led the trio with a charm that masked a heart of stone. Stephen, dark and brooding, had an air of superiority that made him untouchable. And then there was Dave, the quiet enforcer, his silence more menacing than any words. Together, they were unstoppable, their power magnified by their unity. Their presence was like a shadow over the university, their influence felt in every corner. They skipped classes without consequence, flaunted designer clothes and expensive cars, and held parties that everyone wanted to attend but few were invited to. They were untouchable, their actions never questioned, their status never challenged. The other students watched from the sidelines, whispers of envy and fear following the trio wherever they went. "Did you see Kevin, Stephen, and Dave today?" Doris asked her friend Sarah as they walked to the library. "They didn't even show up for Professor Martin's lecture." Sarah rolled her eyes, her voice tinged with frustration. "Doesn't surprise me. They always do that. I wonder how they manage to keep such high grades." It was a mystery that everyone pondered but no one dared to solve. The trio's grades were immaculate, their future seemingly guaranteed by some unseen force. Rumors swirled of connections to the dean, of family ties to the administration, but nothing was ever proven. They were the embodiment of privilege, and they wielded it like a weapon. Yet beneath their confident exteriors, there was a dark undertone to their laughter, a cruelty that went unnoticed by those who only saw their wealth and status. They mocked the less fortunate, ridiculed the different, and reveled in the pain they caused. Their actions were a stain on the university, a reminder that power, when unchecked, can corrupt absolutely. And so, they continued their reign, their eyes always scanning for their next target, their next victim. Little did they know, change was on the horizon, and their kingdom of cruelty was about to be challenged in ways they could never imagine. At the beginning of the semester, the Department of Advanced Technologies and Design welcomed a new student. Her name was Charlene. With her long, brown hair and expressive eyes, she stood out in a crowd. But it was her simple, understated attire that drew the most attention. Her shoes were basic, her bag had no visible branding, and her clothes, though well-maintained, lacked ostentation. Whispers circulated through the hallway that Charlene hailed from one of the most prestigious schools in the country, an institution known for producing top professionals in the field. Yet, looking at her, few could imagine such an origin. She seemed out of place among the glittering elite of the university, a plain stone in a sea of jewels. As Charlene headed to her first class, the trio noticed her. Stephen, with his sardonic smile, remarked, "Look at the new bee. Seems like she borrowed her clothes from her great-grandma. I bet she's from the countryside, maybe from a farm or something. Her parents probably spent all their savings to send her to this university. She must be a scholarship student." Kevin, never missing a chance to join in the mockery, added, "Yeah, and I bet her hometown is so remote it doesn't even have an internet signal. She probably thinks Wi-Fi is some kind of food." The two laughed, satisfied with their observations, unaware that by judging Charlene solely based on her appearance, they were making a grave mistake. Charlene, on the other hand, continued on her path, oblivious to the comments, focused on her goal to learn and excel at the university. Despite her unassuming appearance, there was a quiet strength in Charlene's eyes, a determination that burned brighter than any outward display of wealth. She was not there to make friends or to be accepted by the likes of Stephen, Kevin, and Dave. She was there to learn, to grow, and to make her mark in a world that often overlooked the quiet and the humble. Little did the trio know, their hasty judgment and cruel remarks would set the stage for a confrontation that would shake the very foundation of their perceived superiority. For Charlene was not just another face in the crowd. She was a force of nature, waiting for the right moment to reveal her true strength. Charlene, hearing the hurtful comments, felt a mix of indignation and pity. She stopped, took a deep breath, and slowly turned to face the trio. Her eyes shone with determination and confidence. With a firm and clear voice, she said, "You know, it's preferable to be seen as a genuine and authentic country girl than to be an empty vessel covered in labels. You hide behind your parents' money, but what do you really have inside? What do you have when you strip away all that superficial gloss?" She took a step forward, approaching Stephen, and continued, "The world has a funny way of surprising us, and the wheel of fortune turns for everyone. Today you're on top, but tomorrow, do you really believe that this arrogant attitude and toxic behavior will take you far?" The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on the scene. The students who had felt oppressed by the trio for so long now witnessed someone confronting them head-on. When Charlene finished, there was a moment of silence before the room erupted in applause and whistles. Many students rose from their chairs, applauding Charlene for her courage and eloquence. The trio, on the other hand, seemed stunned, wordless for the first time in a long while. Charlene's response reverberated through the room, leaving an indelible mark. The trio, who always felt invincible, were now disarmed and exposed. The looks that were once filled with fear and submission now sparkled with a new light of respect and admiration for Charlene. Dave, attempting to maintain composure, murmured to Kevin, "That was a low blow. She had no right." Kevin, still dazed, replied, "She might have caught us off guard now, but we won't let this slide." Stephen, the most affected by Charlene's retaliation, felt his face burn with embarrassment. He looked around and realized that the dynamics had shifted. "She's going to regret this," he whispered, more to himself than to his friends. Though the trio tried to maintain an air of indifference, it was evident that they were deeply wounded. They weren't accustomed to being challenged, let alone publicly humiliated. In the days that followed, as Charlene continued her academic journey with dignity and grace, the trio gathered in secrecy, plotting revenge. They couldn't let that affront go unpunished. Evan, with a dark look in his eyes, said, "She might have won this battle, but the war isn't over yet. We'll show her the cost of defying us." Dave and Kevin agreed, and together they began devising a cruel and Machiavellian plan to get back at Charlene. They were determined to regain their position and make Charlene pay for her audacity. Charlene, with her strong and determined stance, quickly became a prominent figure at the university. It wasn't just her courage in facing the dreaded trio that made her stand out, but also her academic dedication. The libraries became her second home, and it was not uncommon to see her immersed in books and notes until late at night. "Did you see Charlene's score on the last exam? She outperformed all of us," Lucas, a classmate, commented to his friend Mariana. "And that's not all," Mariana replied. "She's also been chosen to represent our university in an international design competition. She's incredible. The professors also noticed her talent." "Charlene has a brilliant mind," Professor Almeida said during a faculty meeting. "She not only grasps concepts quickly, but also has the ability to apply them in innovative ways." But as Charlene reaped the rewards of her effort and dedication, in the shadows, the trio plotted. Evan, with a resentful gaze, said, "She might be the current darling, but that won't last long. We have to put her in her place." Dave, rubbing his hands eagerly, added, "Yeah, she needs to learn that you can't just humiliate people like us and get away with it." Kevin, ever the calculating one, pondered, "Let's act smart about this. If we're going to get back at her, we need to do it right. No hasty actions." Charlene, immersed in her studies and projects, had no inkling of the dark intentions forming against her. She was focused on her future and making a difference, oblivious to the danger that loomed ahead. On a cloudy afternoon, the trio gathered on the terrace of a sophisticated cafe overlooking the bustling city center. Evan, with a shrewd look, outlined his plan, emphasizing each word to ensure his friends understood the brilliance behind his idea. "Listen," began Evan. "We're going to play a game of charm and cunning. We'll pretend that everything that happened is in the past, and we're the new good guys of the university. And to seal this new phase, I'll invite her to my 25th birthday party. It will be at La Bellevue, the city's most upscale restaurant." Dave, with a sarcastic smile, interjected, "And let me guess, you think she'll show up in one of her simple and mismatched dresses, while we'll all be impeccably dressed in designer outfits?" "Exactly," exclaimed Evan. "And when she's there, all out of place, we'll film every embarrassing moment and share it on social media. Imagine the humiliation. She'll wish she had never crossed our path." Kevin, always the most cautious, questioned, "What if she gets suspicious? What if she doesn't come?" Evan, confident, replied, "She'll come. We'll make her believe that we're genuinely trying to make amends. And when she least expects it, the blow will land." Dave laughed, imagining the scene in his mind. "Oh, this is going to be epic. She thinks she can challenge us, but we'll show her where she belongs." Despite his initial reservations, Kevin couldn't help but get caught up in his friend's excitement. It'll be the perfect revenge. She'll never see it coming. The trio raised their glasses, sealing their Machiavellian plan, while the city continued its frenetic routine below them, unaware of the schemes unfolding above. Their revenge was in full swing, and they were determined to make Charlene pay for her audacity. The meticulously crafted plan by Evan, Stephen, and Dave was in full swing, and the trio's confidence was soaring. They were convinced that Charlene, the country girl, would be the laughingstock of the party. However, they were about to discover that appearances can be deceiving. What they didn't know was that behind Charlene's simplicity lay a rich and complex story. Her parents weren't the humble farmers they imagined. In fact, they were renowned intellectuals. But for the trio of playboys, raised with silver spoons in their mouths and accustomed to measuring people's worth by the size of their bank accounts, that hardly mattered. "What's an academic title compared to a fat bank account?" Kevin used to say, echoing the sentiment of the group. Dave, laughing once, commented, "Whether it's a PhD professor or a sweaty truck driver, to me they're all the same. What matters is what you have in your pocket, not in your brain." And so, blinded by their arrogance and prejudice, they continued to underestimate Charlene, oblivious to how mistaken they were. With the goal of immortalizing what they believed would be Charlene's downfall, the trio heavily invested in technology. They hired a professional team to install high-definition cameras in strategic points of the La Bellevue restaurant. Moreover, they hired a live streaming specialist to ensure that everything would be broadcast in real time on major social media platforms. "This is going to be epic. Imagine her face when she realizes the whole world is watching her humiliation," Dave exclaimed, rubbing his hands in anticipation. Kevin, looking at the equipment, commented, "Nothing but the best to record our triumph, right?" The week felt endless for them. With each passing day, their anxiety grew, and the thirst for revenge became even more intense. They could barely wait for Saturday, the day when, in their minds, They would regain the respect and status they believed they had lost thanks to Charlene. On the day of the party, dressed impeccably in designer suits, the trio made a triumphant entrance at the restaurant, riding in a specially rented red convertible Porsche. They disembarked to the attentive gazes of the guests, who were already starting to arrive. "Let's make sure everything's working perfectly," said Evan, discreetly checking the cameras and giving the signal for the specialist to start the live stream. The first guests began to enter the restaurant, and a sense of anticipation filled the air. Everyone was eager to see what the night had in store, and the confident trio could hardly wait to begin their Machiavellian plan. As the dining hall of La Bellevue restaurant filled with guests, Stephen, with a glass of champagne in hand, moved gracefully among the groups, accepting warm greetings and luxurious gifts. However, his blue eyes constantly scanned the entrance, looking for a sign of Charlene's presence. Dave, noticing Stephen's anxiety, commented, "She's probably getting ready. You know how women are. They always take a while to prepare." But Kevin, always the most skeptical of the trio, let out a sarcastic laugh. Or maybe she realized how out of place she would be at a party like this. "I bet that country girl got scared of being the center of attention and decided to stay home, avoiding further humiliation." Stephen, trying to maintain composure, took a sip of his drink and sighed. "Maybe you're right, Kevin. Maybe she realized she doesn't belong in this world and decided to spare us all from her presence." Deep down, a pang of disappointment hit Stephen. He had meticulously planned every detail of that evening, and Charlene's absence threatened to ruin everything. The night was in full swing when the sound of a powerful engine caught everyone's attention. A long and imposing black limousine began to glide slowly toward the entrance of La Bellevue restaurant. The city lights reflected off the polished surface of the vehicle, creating an almost magical effect. Stephen, Kevin, and Dave exchanged glances, curiosity evident on their faces. "Who the hell arrives in a limousine to my party?" Stephen muttered, more to himself than to his friends. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The guests stopped their conversations and turned their attention to the limousine. The silence was almost palpable. Then, the door of the limousine opened slowly, revealing a pair of elegant heels. Charlene emerged, stunning in a dress that shimmered under the restaurant lights. The subtly draped fabric embraced her curves, and the sophisticated design screamed haute couture. Her hair, once simple, was now styled in soft waves that framed her face. By her side, a young man with an upright posture and confident demeanor stepped out of the car. Wearing an impeccable suit, he offered his arm to Charlene, and together they walked toward the entrance. Stephen was dumbfounded. He could barely recognize the young woman he had tried to humiliate. Charlene, with a radiant smile, approached and extended an elegantly wrapped package. "Happy birthday, Stephen," she said, with a soft but firm voice. Stephen took the gift, still in shock. Upon opening a small part of the wrapping, he saw the gleam of a prestigious brand watch. His eyes widened. How did you manage to get this? I thought you were—" "Well, you know," Stephen stammered, clearly flustered. With a playful smile, Charlene let out an infectious laugh, causing some of the nearby guests to turn to see what was happening. She then looked directly into Stephen's eyes and said, with a hint of sarcasm, "Oh, Stephen, who told you that I come from a humble family? Was it my simple and unpretentious wardrobe? I choose to dress this way because, to me, flaunting wealth is in extremely poor taste. Just so you know, my father is the CEO of one of the largest companies in the country, and my mother, well, she's the chancellor of this university. But I prefer to keep my personal and academic lives separate. I don't like to flaunt my background unlike some around here. The silence that followed was almost deafening. Stephen, Kevin, and Dave were left speechless, their faces transitioning through a range of expressions from surprise to embarrassment. The arrogance that once radiated from them had now been replaced by a look of shock. The guests around exchanged amused glances and whispers. The trio's attempt to humiliate Charlene had backfired, and now they were the ones in the spotlight, but for entirely different reasons than they had planned. They had undoubtedly become the butt of the night's jokes. In a corner of the restaurant, Patrick, the young man accompanying Charlene, conversed animatedly with some guests. His well-tailored suit and designer shoes showcased his wealth, but it was his charisma and intelligence that truly impressed. He was known in the business world for his shrewdness and ability to close multi-million-dollar deals with an investment portfolio boasting 8 digits. "Did you know that Patrick has business partnerships with the parents of those 3? Whispered one guest to another, discreetly pointing towards Stephen, Kevin, and Dave. Patrick, noticing the glances directed at him, approached the trio and said with an ironic smile, "Stephen, Kevin, Dave, how are your family businesses doing? I believe our contracts are going well, aren't they?" The trio, still recovering from the previous shock, now had to contend with the fact that Charlene's boyfriend was not only wealthy, but also had a direct influence over their own futures and their family's businesses. I didn't know you guys knew each other," stammered Stephen, clearly uncomfortable. "Oh, there are many things you don't know," Charlene replied, linking her arm with Patrick's. As if the universe were conspiring against them, the trio soon realized that the cameras they had installed to capture Charlene's supposed humiliation were, in fact, live streaming their own embarrassment to the entire university. Their plan had not only miserably failed, but now they were the center of attention and laughter. Meanwhile, Charlene and Patrick, immersed in their own bubble of happiness, laughed and danced, celebrating the love they had shared for years, oblivious to the chaos unfolding around them. In the farthest corner of the restaurant, Stephen, Kevin, and Dave took refuge, trying to hide from the judgmental looks of the guests. The atmosphere around them was heavy, and the silence between the 3 was deafening. Each of them was lost in their own thoughts, dwelling on the humiliation they had endured. "I can't believe this happened," murmured Kevin, looking at the ground. "This is a nightmare," Dave replied, with a distant look. Even Stephen, the birthday celebrant, simply sighed deeply, feeling the weight of his actions. "We really underestimated Charlene," he admitted. The next morning, the campus was abuzz with gossip and laughter. Social media was flooded with videos and memes from the previous night. The trio's humiliation became the most talked about topic, and Charlene Watson was elevated to legendary status. She was seen as the heroine who finally put the arrogant playboys in their place. "Did you see the video? They looked completely lost," exclaimed a student. "Charlene is amazing. She really showed them," said another. Faced with pressure and shame, the trio had no choice but to publicly apologize. In an act of humility, they gathered in a central courtyard of the university and, in front of a crowd of students, apologized for their behavior. "We're truly sorry for everything we did," said Stephen, his voice trembling. "We were wrong, and we hope everyone can forgive us." Charlene, always gracious, accepted the apology and, in a gesture of kindness, extended her hand in reconciliation. "We all make mistakes," she said. "The important thing is to learn from them and grow as individuals." And so, the university learned a valuable lesson about humility, forgiveness, and the true meaning of character. The days that followed were a whirlwind of reflection and transformation. Stephen, Kevin, and Dave, who had once been the tyrants of the campus, found themselves in an unfamiliar position, being the subjects of scrutiny and curiosity. The humiliation they had faced forced them to confront their actions and the impact they had on others. Stephen, in particular, felt the weight of his past decisions pressing heavily on his conscience. Sitting alone in the campus garden, he watched the students pass by, their laughter and conversations a stark contrast to the turmoil within him. He remembered the countless times he had walked these paths, filled with arrogance and a sense of invincibility. Now, those memories were tainted with regret. One afternoon, as he sat on a bench, lost in thought, he felt a presence beside him. Looking up, he saw Charlene, her eyes filled with a mix of compassion and determination. "Stephen," she began softly, "I know it must be hard to face everyone after what happened, but I believe that this can be a turning point for you. For all of you." Stephen sighed, his shoulders slumping. "I don't know if I can change, Charlene. I've been this way for so long." Charlene smiled gently, her eyes warm. "Change is never easy, but it's possible. It starts with small steps. Acknowledging your mistakes is the first step, and you've already done that. Now, it's about moving forward and making better choices." Stephen looked into Charlene's eyes, finding a glimmer of hope there. "How do I start?" he asked, his voice tinged with vulnerability. "By treating others with kindness and respect," Charlene replied. "By using your influence to make a positive impact. You have the power to inspire others, Stephen. Use it wisely." Inspired by their conversation, Stephen began to take conscious steps towards becoming a better person. He started volunteering at local community centers, helping underprivileged students with their studies. Kevin and Dave, seeing the genuine change in their friend, decided to join him, hoping to atone for their past behavior. Word of their efforts spread across the campus, and slowly, the perception of the trio began to shift. While some remained skeptical, many were willing to give them a second chance, encouraged by the sincerity of their actions. Charlene, watching from a distance, felt a sense of fulfillment. She had not only stood up for herself, but had also planted the seeds of change in the hearts of those who needed it most. The university, once marred by arrogance and cruelty, was now a place where humility and compassion could take root and flourish. In the quiet moments of reflection, Stephen, Kevin, and Dave found solace in their newfound purpose. They had been humbled, but through that humility, they discovered a deeper connection to their own humanity and to the community around them. And so, the journey of redemption began. It was a path fraught with challenges and doubts, but it was also a path that promised growth, understanding, and the possibility of true transformation. As Stephen, Kevin, and Dave continued their journey of transformation, they began to open up about their own struggles and insecurities. They realized that their previous behavior had been a way to mask their own pain and fears. This newfound vulnerability brought them closer together as friends and allowed them to connect with others on a deeper level. One evening, as the sun set over the campus, casting a golden hue across the buildings, the trio gathered in the student lounge. The room was filled with a soft hum of conversation and laughter, but their corner was quiet and contemplative. Kevin, who had always been the most reserved of the group, finally broke the silence. "You know, I've always felt this pressure to live up to my family's expectations. It's like no matter what I do, it's never enough." Dave nodded, his usual bravado replaced by a look of empathy. "I get it. My parents have always compared me to my older brother, the golden child. I guess that's why I acted out so much. It was my way of saying, I'm here too." Stephen, who had been listening intently, sighed deeply. "For me, it was fear. Fear of being seen as weak or inadequate. So, I built up this facade of arrogance to protect myself. But in doing so, I hurt so many people." Charlene, who had become a confidant and guide for the trio, joined them, sensing the gravity of the moment. She placed a hand on Stephen's shoulder. "Acknowledging your pain is a crucial step towards healing. You're not alone in this. We all carry our burdens, but it's how we choose to deal with them that defines us." The trio looked at Charlene, their eyes reflecting a mixture of gratitude and resolve. Her presence had been a catalyst for their transformation, and her unwavering belief in their potential gave them the strength to keep moving forward. Inspired by Charlene's words, the trio decided to organize an open forum on campus, inviting students to share their own stories of struggle and resilience. They wanted to create a space where vulnerability was not only accepted but celebrated. The event, held in the main auditorium, drew a large crowd. Students, faculty, and staff gathered, curious and hopeful. Stephen, Kevin, and Dave took the stage, their hearts pounding with a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. Stephen spoke first, his voice steady but emotional. "We stand before you today, not as the arrogant boys we once were, but as individuals who have faced our own demons and are striving to be better. We invite you to join us in this journey of self-discovery and healing." One by one, students came forward, sharing their own experiences of hardship and triumph. There were tears, laughter, and moments of profound connection. The auditorium was filled with a sense of unity and understanding, as everyone realized that they were not alone in their struggles. Charlene, sitting in the front row, watched with pride as the trio facilitated the discussions with empathy and grace. She knew that their transformation was far from complete, but the progress they had made was undeniable. The forum became a turning point for the campus community. It sparked a culture of openness and support, where students felt safe to express their true selves. The walls that had once divided them were slowly crumbling, replaced by bridges of compassion and solidarity. For Stephen, Kevin, and Dave, the journey of redemption was ongoing. They continued to confront their past mistakes and work towards becoming the best versions of themselves. They knew that change was a lifelong process, but with the support of their friends and the campus community, they were confident that they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, under the setting sun, as the campus buzzed with a renewed sense of hope, the trio stood together, ready to embrace their future with open hearts and unwavering determination. After 2 years of steady growth, understanding, and mending relationships, Stephen, Kevin, and Dave had become pillars of the university community. Their transformation had been profound, earning them respect and admiration from those who had once feared and despised them. Among the many positive changes, the trio had cultivated a deep and abiding friendship with Charlene, whose guidance and kindness had been instrumental in their journey. In this atmosphere of newfound respect and camaraderie, an unexpected event brought another wave of change. On a bright, crisp spring day, as cherry blossoms bloomed and the air was filled with the promise of renewal, Adrian, a longtime admirer of Charlene, decided to confess his feelings. Adrian, a fellow student known for his integrity and dedication to social causes, had always been quietly supportive of Charlene. His admiration had grown into love, and he felt ready to share his feelings. Charlene, engrossed in her studies and the initiatives she had helped foster, was taken by surprise when Adrian approached her with a bouquet of lilies, her favorite flowers. They stood under a cherry blossom tree, petals gently falling around them, creating a scene straight out of a dream. "Charlene," Adrian began, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "I've admired you for so long, not just for your intelligence and beauty, but for your strength and kindness. You've changed so many lives here, including mine. I love you, Charlene, and I would be honored if you'd be my partner in life." Charlene, caught off guard but deeply touched, looked into Adrian's eyes and saw the sincerity and love shining there. Her heart swelled with emotion, and a soft smile graced her lips. "Adrian," she replied, her voice trembling with joy, "I never expected this, but I feel the same way. You've always been there for me, and I can't imagine my life without you." As they embraced, the cherry blossoms seemed to dance in celebration around them. Their union was a testament to the power of love and transformation, a symbol of the positive changes that had swept through their lives and the university. Word of Adrian's proposal quickly spread across the campus, bringing a wave of happiness and excitement. Stephen, Kevin, and Dave were among the first to congratulate the couple, their joy genuine and heartfelt. The trio had learned to appreciate the beauty of sincere connections, and seeing Charlene find love filled them with immense satisfaction. That evening, a spontaneous celebration erupted in the student lounge. Friends and classmates gathered to toast to Charlene and Adrian's happiness. Laughter and music filled the air, and for a moment, the entire campus seemed to be wrapped in a blanket of joy and unity. Stephen, raising his glass, made a heartfelt toast. "To Charlene and Adrian," he began, his voice filled with emotion, "may your love continue to grow and inspire all of us. You've shown us the true meaning of strength and kindness, and we are forever grateful." As the evening wore on, the bonds between everyone present grew stronger. The celebration was not just for Charlene and Adrian, but for the entire community that had come together to support and uplift one another. In the midst of the revelry, Charlene found a quiet moment to reflect. She looked around at the faces of her friends, old and new, and felt a deep sense of contentment. The journey had not been easy, but it had been worth every challenge. She knew that with love, kindness, and determination, they could continue to build a brighter future together. And so, under the twinkling lights and the gentle sway of cherry blossoms, a new chapter began. A chapter filled with hope, love, and the promise of endless possibilities. As the months passed, Charlene and Adrian's love blossomed, filling their lives with joy and hope. The university community continued to thrive, their bonds of friendship and solidarity growing ever stronger. However, amidst this atmosphere of happiness and growth, an unexpected figure from Charlene's past re-emerged, bringing with him a storm of emotions. Marcus, Charlene's ex-boyfriend, had been absent from her life since their breakup 2 years prior. Their relationship had ended on a sour note, filled with misunderstandings and unspoken feelings. Marcus had left the university abruptly, driven by a desire to escape the pain and confusion. Now, standing at the entrance of the university, he felt a mix of anxiety and determination. His return was not without reason. Marcus had spent the past 2 years reflecting on his actions and the choices he had made. He realized the mistakes that had driven him and Charlene apart, and the growth he had experienced filled him with a longing to make amends. The news of Charlene's engagement to Adrian had reached him, sparking a deep desire to find closure and perhaps seek forgiveness. As Marcus walked through the familiar campus, memories flooded back, some bitter, some sweet. He approached the library, knowing it was one of Charlene's favorite places. There, among the rows of books and the quiet hum of academic pursuit, he found her. Charlene looked up from her studies, her eyes widening in surprise. "Marcus," she whispered, unable to mask the shock in her voice. The sight of him brought back a whirlwind of emotions, but she remained composed. "Charlene," Marcus began, his voice trembling slightly, "I know this is unexpected, but I needed to see you. I've spent these years thinking about everything that happened between us, and I realize how much I hurt you. I'm not here to disrupt your life or your happiness with Adrian. I just want to apologize and find closure." Charlene took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. She studied Marcus, noticing the changes in his demeanor, the sincerity in his eyes and the humility in his posture. "Marcus, it's been a long time," she replied softly. "I've moved on, and my life has changed in ways I never imagined. But I appreciate you coming here to talk." They sat together in the library, the weight of their past hanging between them. Marcus spoke of his regrets, his journey of self-discovery, and the lessons he had learned. Charlene listened, her heart softening with each word. She could see the genuine remorse and growth in him, and it brought a sense of peace. "Thank you for your apology, Marcus," Charlene said finally, her voice gentle. "I've forgiven you a long time ago. Holding on to anger and resentment only holds us back. I'm happy now, and I hope you find happiness too." Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over him. "Thank you, Charlene. That means more to me than you know. I wish you and Adrian all the happiness in the world." With that, they parted ways, their conversation bringing closure to a chapter that had long been left unresolved. Marcus walked away, feeling lighter and more at peace than he had in years. Charlene, too, felt a sense of release. The encounter with Marcus had brought clarity and reaffirmed the path she had chosen. She returned to her studies, her heart full of gratitude for the journey that had led her to this moment. Later that evening, she shared the encounter with Adrian. "Marcus came back today," she said, her voice calm. "He apologized and sought closure. It was unexpected, but it felt right." Adrian took her hand, his eyes filled with understanding. "I'm glad you found the closure you needed, Charlene. Our past shapes us, but it doesn't define us. We've created something beautiful together, and that's what matters." As they embraced, the world outside seemed to fade away, leaving only the warmth of their love and the promise of a bright future. The return of Marcus, once a source of pain, had become a catalyst for healing and growth, strengthening the bonds of love and friendship that defined their lives. The days turned into weeks, and Charlene and Adrian's relationship deepened, their love blossoming like a flower in the spring. The closure with Marcus had lifted a weight off Charlene's shoulders, allowing her to fully embrace her present and future with Adrian. Life at the university continued to thrive, filled with laughter, learning, and the promise of new beginnings. One crisp autumn evening, Adrian decided it was time to take their relationship to the next level. He planned a special dinner at their favorite restaurant, a quaint, intimate place with soft lighting and a cozy atmosphere. The leaves outside were a cascade of red and gold, reflecting the warmth and beauty of the love they shared. Adrian had spent weeks planning every detail, wanting the night to be perfect. He chose a table by the window, where they could watch the falling leaves dance in the gentle breeze. Candles flickered softly on the table, casting a warm glow that mirrored the love in his heart. Charlene arrived, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. She wore a simple, elegant dress that highlighted her natural beauty, her hair cascading in soft waves. As she walked towards the table, Adrian's heart swelled with love and admiration. "You look stunning, Charlene," Adrian said, standing to greet her with a tender kiss. "Tonight is special." Charlene smiled, feeling a flutter of excitement. "It's always special when I'm with you, Adrian." They enjoyed a delicious meal, reminiscing about their journey together, their laughter mingling with the soft music playing in the background. As dessert was served, Adrian's heart began to race. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, velvet box, his hands trembling slightly. "Charlene," he began, his voice filled with emotion, "from the moment I met you, I knew you were the one. Your strength, your kindness, and your beautiful soul have transformed my life in ways I never thought possible. You are my heart, my soul, my everything." Tears welled up in Charlene's eyes as she listened, her heart overflowing with love. "Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Adrian asked, opening the box to reveal a stunning ring that sparkled in the candlelight. Charlene gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh, Adrian, yes. Yes, I will marry you," she exclaimed, tears streaming down her cheeks. Adrian slipped the ring onto her finger, and they embraced, their hearts beating as one. The restaurant erupted in applause, the other patrons sharing in their joy. That night, as they walked hand in hand under the canopy of stars, Charlene felt a profound sense of peace and happiness. The trials and tribulations of the past had led her to this beautiful moment, a testament to the power of love and resilience. As they looked up at the night sky, Adrian whispered, "Our future is bright, my love. Together, we can overcome anything." Charlene nodded, her heart full. "Yes, Adrian. Together, we are unstoppable." Their engagement marked the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with endless possibilities and unwavering love. The world around them seemed to shimmer with promise, a reflection of the extraordinary bond they shared. In the days that followed, their engagement became the talk of the university. Friends and professors alike congratulated them, their joy infectious. The news spread quickly, and even those who had once doubted or envied their relationship could not help but be moved by their genuine love and commitment. Charlene and Adrian continued to build their future together, supporting each other's dreams and aspirations. Their love story, once filled with challenges and heartache, had transformed into a beautiful tapestry of resilience, hope, and unwavering devotion. As they planned their wedding, they knew that the journey ahead would not always be easy. But with each other by their side, they felt ready to face whatever life had in store, their love a guiding light through the darkest of times. Months flew by, and the day of Charlene and Adrian's wedding finally arrived. It was a beautiful spring day, the air filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the sweet melody of birds singing. The university chapel, adorned with delicate white lilies and vibrant roses, stood as a beacon of love and unity. Charlene stood in front of a mirror, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nervousness. She wore a simple yet elegant gown that flowed like a river of silk, accentuating her natural beauty. Her friends and family gathered around her, their eyes glistening with tears of joy and pride. "You look absolutely radiant, Charlene," her mother said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Your father would be so proud of you." Charlene nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I feel his presence with me today. I know he's watching over us." In another room, Adrian stood surrounded by his friends and family, adjusting his tie and taking deep breaths to calm his nerves. He looked dashing in his tailored suit, his eyes sparkling with love and anticipation. "You ready for this, Adrian?" his best man asked, clapping him on the back. "More than ready," Adrian replied with a smile. "I've waited my whole life for this moment." The chapel was filled with their loved ones, the atmosphere buzzing with excitement and happiness. As the music began to play, the doors opened, and Charlene stepped into the aisle, her eyes locking with Adrian's. In that moment, it felt as if time stood still, and the world around them faded away. Adrian's breath caught in his throat as he watched Charlene walk towards him, her beauty and grace taking his breath away. He could see the love and determination in her eyes, a reflection of his own feelings. As they stood together at the altar, the officiant began the ceremony, his words a beautiful blend of love, commitment, and hope for the future. Charlene and Adrian exchanged their vows, their voices steady and filled with emotion. "I promise to love you unconditionally, to support you in your dreams, and to stand by your side through all of life's challenges," Charlene vowed, her voice trembling with emotion. "You are my heart, my soul, my everything." Adrian took her hands in his eyes shining with unshed tears. "I promise to cherish you, to honor and respect you, and to love you with all that I am," he said, his voice strong and clear. "Together, we will build a life filled with love, joy, and endless possibilities." As they exchanged rings, a symbol of their eternal love and commitment, the chapel erupted in applause and cheers. They sealed their vows with a tender kiss, their hearts beating as one. The reception that followed was a joyous celebration of their love, filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt toasts. Friends and family shared stories of Charlene and Adrian's journey, their words a testament to the strength and resilience of their love. Later that night, as the festivities came to an end, Charlene and Adrian stood under the starlit sky, their hands entwined. The world around them was quiet, the only sound the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. "I can't believe we're finally here," Charlene whispered, resting her head on Adrian's shoulder. "It feels like a dream." Adrian kissed the top of her head, his heart swelling with love. "It's our dream, Charlene, and it's just the beginning." As they looked up at the stars, they knew that their journey was far from over. There would be challenges and hardships ahead, but with each other by their side, they felt ready to face whatever life had in store. Their love, forged through trials and triumphs, was a beacon of hope and strength. And as they stood together, hand in hand, they knew that their future was bright, filled with endless possibilities and the promise of a lifetime of love and happiness. In the years that followed, Charlene and Adrian built a beautiful life together. They continued to support each other's dreams, their love growing stronger with each passing day. They welcomed children into their lives, raising them with the same love, respect, and resilience that had brought them together. Their story became a legend at the university, a tale of love, perseverance, and the power of true character. And through it all, Charlene and Adrian remained each other's rock, their love an unbreakable bond that carried them through life's ups and downs. As they grew old together, their love never wavered. They faced every challenge with grace and strength, their hearts forever intertwined. And in the end, their love story was a testament to the enduring power of love, a shining example of what it means to truly love and be loved. Charlene and Adrian's love story was a reminder to all that no matter the obstacles, true love will always find a way. And as they looked back on their journey, they knew that their love had not only transformed their own lives, but had also touched the hearts of everyone around them. Their love was a legacy, a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come. And as they stood together, hand in hand, they knew that their love would continue to shine brightly, lighting the way for all who followed.